Welcome back, everyone. Today's our very first Tour Tuesday of 2021. What a mouthful. We're really thrilled to have you here to kick off our spring tour series featuring businesses all over Lane County. My name is Lizzie Gray, and I'm a project coordinator for Connected Lane County, and I will be your host. And I am joined by two representatives from Farwest Steel, which is the tour that we all took virtually on Friday or today. Would you like to introduce yourselves? And Dave, we can start with you.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dave Hendricks. I'm the Eugene branch manager. Been with the company 25 years now.
And Donovan.
As indicated, my name is Donovan Day. I am the branch sales manager, and I've been with the company for 27 years now.
Great. And I do want to make a note. We were anticipating that Melissa, the HR director, would be joining us, but unfortunately she's having some technical difficulties. So thank you for trying, Melissa. We will catch you next time. Before we start, I want to remind everyone that by now you should have watched the pre-recorded tour. It's about 25 minutes long of Farwest Steel's Eugene branch. That would have come to you in an email from Jenna from our team. It would have come on Friday and this morning as a reminder. If you haven't watched it yet, be sure to do so after the Q&A. And as always, while our guests and I are chatting, we cannot see or hear you. But if you have questions, please type them into the Q&A feature or into the chat box. We have plenty of time, so we will be sure to get to all your questions. And make sure that you take advantage of this awesome opportunity to ask a local employer about what it's like to work there. So I'll get us started with a couple questions first. You both have told me that you started at entry-level positions about half a century ago. So could you take us through kind of that career path that has led you to the positions that you're in now? And Dave, if you could just get us started.
Yeah, no problem. I was 19 years old and attending Lane Community College. And like most young adults, I had the need for earned income. So I was reaching out, trying to find opportunities that would support college, but allow available hours to generate that income. So I met a friend at Lane who actually worked at Farwest and communicated that the operations at Farwest are 24 hours a day, and they're pretty flexible on modifying schedules so you can go to school. So while I was in the Lane, I actually started here at Farwest entry level as a temporary employee back in 1995, and worked a whole bunch of different modified shifts depending on the curriculum and the term. That led to advancement opportunities on the operations floor here at Farwest. And I found myself having aspirations and growth opportunities that I didn't recognize initially when I joined the Farwest team. I transitioned into a commercial role as an inside sales rep, then into sales leadership, sales manager, and now I'm the branch manager 25 years later.
Wonderful. What a journey. And I love that you started at LCC and that it was a friend that turned you into Farwest.
Yeah.
That's great. What about you, Donovan?
So my story is very similar, a little bit different. I actually started when I was a junior in high school. I was 16. And at that point, you can't operate any equipment. I don't even think I was allowed to get on a ladder because of the rules and regulations. But my position was really just a shop cleanup kid. So I swept the floors, I cleaned the bathroom, I'd wipe down tooling, stack pallets, help package items on pallets. And I did that through an after school kind of deal through my junior year. And then I worked full time during the summer. My senior year, I had enough credits that I could go to school for half days, and then I got work credit for going to work as well. So continued to work throughout my senior year, and then evolved into full-time work following graduation. and progressed shortly into, operating equipment, a varying number of equipment, and then some supervisory roles on the shop floor. I got an opportunity to move into our parts programming department, where I got to, read drawings and program the parts on the computers that we would eventually end up cutting. And then continued, just kind of the progression as it came available. And then very similar to Dave, had an opportunity to move into a commercial role, and then additional leadership, and I'm now currently as the sales manager.
That's incredible. Very, yeah, similar, but sort of different journeys. Donovan, can I ask, where'd you go to high school?
Elmira.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
I wonder if we have any Elmira folks on the call. If so, throw something in the chat to let us know. That's great. So I'm curious if you all had, so Donovan, you started in high school, and Dave, you started at LCC. And I'm not sure what you were studying at LCC, but as you've grown into different positions, has it required you to go back to gain any certifications or any additional degrees? Or is it mostly on the job training that you've received?
For me, it's been mostly on the job training. I just did an Associate of Arts. It's a transfer degree. It's just your basic studies. Nothing specialized, but on the job training, the company believes in investing in their employees, and they give you opportunities. They'll bring teams in that offer comprehensive training. They also offer reimbursement programs if there are special courses or things required. If you have aspirations to go a specific direction, they'll draft a plan. You'll outline what you need to accomplish to get there, and then they can reimburse you if additional education like drafting classes, AutoCAD, word processing classes, those kind of things are required. For me, most of it's been on the job training. I have done seminars and other things over the last 25 years, but they've never asked me to go back and get my 4-year degree.
Okay, awesome. Same for you, Donovan, for the most part?
Absolutely, very, very similar. There's a few things I wish I would have done more of, in high school and maybe thereafter, but for the most part, extremely similar to Dave's explanation.
Speak more to that. We have an audience here of folks who can do what you wish you had done. So what
Absolutely.
done?
Absolutely. So one of the big things, and I remember sitting in math class and listening and to some of my fellow students, and I probably said some of the same stuff, was, oh my gosh, I'm never going to use this in real life. And it couldn't be further from the truth, especially in the equipment operation and when I was doing parts programming, the math. I can't emphasize enough how important the math curriculum is. And you will use it, and embrace the math, and everything that we do revolves around math. Even our truck loaders, they've got to be able to understand how much weight they're putting on a truck and in what orientation. Our entry level individuals, they've got to handle piece counts, heat numbers that are on our batch tickets, make sure that they're loading packages to meet customer weight requirements. It is a never ending. Our world revolves around math, period.
Okay, very good to know. Anything you would add to that list, Dave?
Oh, I was just going to mention, it's kind of funny because, Donovan's talking about, the math aspect, which is true. Math is in every aspect of what we do. I remember being in school, and every time I was given an assignment that required writing, I just cringed. That was the one aspect of curriculum that I shied away from. And I would wait to the last minute to draft papers, get them turned in, and it was very painful. Now all I do is write. It seems like between math and writing, reporting, Donovan's spot on. The curriculum is important. You will use it, I think that, you know, the foundation you build coming out of high school, and really it comes down to your willingness and ability to learn, and then keeping a positive attitude and making sure that you challenge yourself. I found if you challenge yourself and you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, you grow. So it's very important to take on the curriculum challenges, take on opportunity. You will grow and you will become stronger following that. So that was my primary takeaway coming out of school.
Thanks, Dave. So
Yeah.
there's a question in the chat. Ricardo is a business teacher down in Cottage Grove at the high school, and he typically broadcasts these to his business classes. And so often he'll type in questions that his students have. And I see a question that just says, what math classes specifically? And Donovan, can you think of any of the math classes that you're referring to by name?
At the very least, geometry is a very, very important one. And you know, I wouldn't sell yourself short. You'd be better off to overdo the math end of things than underdo it. But geometry at an absolute bare bones minimum, and not and really embracing it with an attempt to master. Not I got a good enough grade that I passed, right? But really embrace it to a level of really committing yourself and understanding it beyond just getting a passing grade in it. Obviously, continuing on to, you know, that algebra and additional absolutely does not hurt. And a lot of what we're talking about is generalities. But really, we look at a lot of entry level employees that struggle to do some simple math things, and we just can't emphasize enough how important that is. I don't necessarily know that, you know, calculus is really going to be, you know, a mandatory requirement in this field. But hey, if you're into math and you can embrace it, by all means, take it all the way, because there are bits and pieces that will help.
Yeah, just to expand on that real quick, a lot of it depends on what direction a particular individual has aspirations towards. If you're talking positions on our operations floor, basic algebra and geometry will get you through most positions. And to Donovan's point, if you master it at a high level, but we also have a development team that works on customized software for our operating systems. Some of the more complex algorithms and formulas would apply to developing code and making the functionality behind the scenes with the customized bolt-on systems we develop that we use to run our business electronically. So we do carry a full development, IT development team for both you know, hardware networking support, but also developers to actually write code and develop software.
Wow. Okay, very good to know. Thank you. I see another question there, Ricardo. I'm going to hold that one until we jump down just a few more questions. I think it will provide just a little bit more context. So aside from math and writing, we heard you both mention about, you know, wishing you had done more of in high school or paid more attention or seen the relevance then. Is there anything else that you can think back to about your high school days or your, you know, community college days that you wished you had learned more about, or a class you wish you had taken? Some high schools offer career technical education, CTE courses, you know, in construction and culinary and all different areas. Is there a particular CTE area that you think might help potential employees? Yeah, Donovan?
Yeah, so I was blessed with we had shop classes when I was in high school, you know, metal shop, auto shop, wood shop. I was hands-on. I very much enjoyed those. The interesting piece, and Dave might have a little bit different story here, but you know, when I was in high school and had started, you know, working here and everything, I didn't exactly have sales manager as, you know, in my vision, so to speak. So it's definitely interesting to look back over that journey and everything else. So there's a lot of opportunity to evolve as an individual as you move through those years and see those other opportunities come up. But all of the vocational ends of things are very important. It definitely helps with problem solving, as well as, you know, taking pride in your workmanship, as well as working with coworkers hands-on in a team, very important. You know, again, we all look at failing as a bad thing, but Dave mentioned earlier putting yourself out there, and really we learn from our mistakes. So in some of those you know, hands-on vocational ends of things, because we don't know what we're doing when we first get into them, we make lots of mistakes, and it's actually positive to make lots of mistakes, because those are the learning lessons that are really going to stick with you, and you'll remember years down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Dave.
Yeah, just to expand on that, with a CTE focus, there's lots of courses I wish I would have had exposure to at a younger age. And I gained some of those skills throughout the tenure here at Farwest. Things like, you know, like I mentioned earlier, drafting classes, AutoCAD. You can also, welding is a skill set, especially if you're looking at fabrication or being a laborer in the future. It's a great skill set to develop, and the younger you start and the more experience you gain, the stronger of an asset and more value you bring to companies throughout your career. There's also the administrative side. There's the word processing. There's PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, Excel. I wish I would have taken more of that at a younger age. I've since learned to be pretty efficient in all those applications, but those are all skill sets that will bring value to you as an individual. The more tools you can put in your toolbox today, it'll help you throughout your career. So I encourage everyone to identify what interests them, and then try to identify, you know, what are the supporting aspects or those tools that'll help you in those positions, and take courses around those. Donovan mentioned wood shop and metal shop. I took those courses in school as well, and they do help you visualize assembly, and they teach you to read a tape at a young age, which is important. So there's lots of different CTE focused classes I wish that I would have taken. Been fortunate enough to learn it, but I would encourage everyone to explore that and add it to their curriculum moving forward if they can.
I really like the idea of that exercise of sitting down and identifying where you could be and what you might need to do right now to support getting you there. And I would encourage any students doing that to ask some adults in your life for help identifying those things that you might need to accomplish in order to get you to that goal. It's not information we expect you to have. So ask the educators and adults in your life.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you emphasize that, Lizzie, because one thing we do with the employees here is we want to identify what their aspirations are and what interests them. What we don't want is an environment or a culture where they're reacting when something's available and not working towards it. So we actually sit down with employees and we talk to them. You know, entry level, right? You look at the next steps, right? We have heavy equipment, we have processing equipment, we have welding positions. You ask them, you know, what goals have you established for yourself, and what do you want to work towards? And then you put conditions in place. That way, when there is availability, there's no doubt they've been working that direction. You know, a month goes by fast, 12 months goes by pretty fast, a few years goes by fast. And if you haven't been working towards a direction, you might be caught flat-footed when it is available. So I would just really encourage everyone to always establish goals, put the building blocks in place, and work towards those goals.
Great advice. And it kind of addresses Colin's question, which is in the chat box, and it says, how does your company support its employees as they look to grow their skills? And I think I've heard you, you know, talk about advanced schooling and helping them take advanced schooling. And then the second being goal setting and really investing in your employees. That's anything else to add to that list? Not that those two aren't sufficient.
Well, there's, you know, obviously that spans a big range. So we have a strong onboarding program. So new employees that are joining the team who aren't familiar with nomenclature, you know, our language, how we talk about things, who aren't familiar with product or operating system or process, we actually have put together a series of videos. We've put together reference material. And then we have an onboarding passport where we have them go through a series of curriculum just to get familiar with the basics. We also put them with a tenure buddy. We have a buddy system. So somebody who's experienced and can be their go-to for any questions. So that's, the initial 90 days to 180 days to make sure that they're supported. And then we like to know, like I mentioned before, and I won't go through it, what are they working towards? What are their goals? I will mention that Farwest Steel, the Eugene branch, has an average tenure of around 18 years. When you think of employees, Donovan and I have been both, over a quarter of a century. And we have one employee on site here who's been over 50 years. And it says a lot about the programs that people don't want to leave.
Yeah, no, it absolutely speaks to that. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, geez. So I feel like this is a cool segue to ask you what's your favorite about working at Farwest. And Donovan, why don't you go?
Really, there's a couple of things that the two pieces that stand out the most for me is opportunity and security. I have a wife, I have kids, I've got a family to help support, and this company has been extremely consistent and has offered an extremely secure a secure place to work. And when I say secure, I mean that we don't have a lot of peaks and valleys with workforce. There's really not lots of cycles with employment or layoff and hires. The vast majority of our teammates here, they're going to work here as long as they really want to work here and put in their piece of it. So one of the things is security. The other piece is opportunity. As I mentioned before, it's I didn't exactly expect to be in a sales management role. When I was 16, 17 years old, I just thought it was cool as heck. I was working in a fab shop, the other kids that had after school jobs, they were working in one of the fast food restaurants, or they were boxing at a grocery store. And hey, it was just absolutely cool. I'm working in a fab shop, and to go through those evolutions. But the opportunity is, as David mentioned before, establishing goals and, for yourselves. Farwest takes a lot of pride in organic growth or promoting from within. And every one of our job opportunities that come up is posted internally. And any one of our employees is encouraged to talk about, expressing interest in those opportunities. Now, if they're an entry-level employee, they want to get, into sales. Hey, great to express that interest. Are you gonna 6 months in step from entry level into a commercial role? Well, not likely, but understanding and knowing that will be an opportunity for you to expand your horizons to is always there. So it's opportunity and security is my two biggest keys for here at Farwest.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Donovan. And Dave, what are the best parts for you about working for Farwest?
Well, I obviously echo a lot of what Donovan shared. But it's a privately owned company that really cares. They have core values that align with mine, and the culture here is family oriented. Plus, one of the initiatives is to have fun. I like to work at a place where I can have fun. I'm with Donovan on growth opportunities, and Donovan and I are both examples of that. Literally starting at entry level, cleanup, and now running aspects of the company. So that's always reassuring to know that you have growth opportunities and you're not bumping up against any ceilings. But at the end of the day, it's really fun to see what Farwest generates and produces and see it out there. And we support so many different aspects, from earthquake protection to steel casings that secure and wrap concrete bridges. That way, if an earthquake was to hit, the bridge wouldn't come down. It would save lives. To marine vessels that are carrying thousands of tons of product across oceans, we get to participate in so many different aspects. One of our local customers builds comprehensive recycling systems that are sold worldwide, and they're focused on taking bags of garbage, breaking them open, sorting the organics and plastics and glass, and yielding a product that has a return for the investor, and it's also helping the earth. And we're a part of that every day. So for me, it's exciting, yeah, to have the opportunities to work for a great culture, but the end product is always fun to see in so many different aspects of our community and globally. So
That's great. I see that Colin had another question in the chat, but I do think that we've kind of addressed it in the question before this one, and then again in your answers for this question. But growth and development at the company, I guess, kind of looks limitless. If you're working with a supervisor to identify goals and to identify the steps that you need to take to get to that place, it sounds like Farwest is in full support and right behind you. Would you agree? Yeah,
I would agree.
great.
Yes, our executive positions within the company are all succession from within the company, internal growth. And our owner, our local owner here, actually grew up on the operations floor and grew throughout the organization as well. So the company really believes in internal development, investing in employees, and opportunity.
Fantastic. Here's a fun question in the chat from Brianna. Oh, and really quickly, Colin, it looks like the second half of your third question got cut off. So do me a favor and retype that one in there. But Bree asks, what's your favorite product that you all make? And I would say, let's say favorite product and or most surprising product. What would surprise us?
Well, I'm going to go with the favorite one first, and Dave touched upon it, but the support that we do for the marine industry is I think is really, really neat. If anybody drives on the coast south of Florence and you drive by Fred Wall Marine, that's right there, just north of Reedsport. There's a tremendous amount of ships you'll see in that yard. We provide a huge amount of the steel product that goes into making and building those ships. If any of you guys have watched Deadliest Catch, we've participated in providing the steel that some of those specific ships were built from, as well as many others that are similar to it. And it's just the physics nature is we get to provide millions of pounds of steel that one of our customers puts into a shape and then goes and makes it float. So from a fun aspect, I love the marine end of things.
It's so cool. You guys just drew a connection from your company in Eugene to this huge TV show that I think most people nationally know about. JCI, another local company, does the same thing with that Gold Rush show. They provide the sifters that they use on that show. So who'd have thunk in Lane County, we're providing these like huge pieces of equipment. It's pretty cool. What about you, Dave? What's your favorite product?
Well, you know, the marine vessels are pretty neat. You know, I'd say one of my favorite products is we've supplied a tremendous amount of steel over the years to a company just north of Eugene that builds systems that shred things. Not just shred things like paper, shred things like bugs and boats. And you literally drop it in and it shreds it into scrap metal. And it's a comprehensive system. And you can put, you know, solid pieces of equipment from barbecues to literally a whole car, and it'll just chew it up and shred it up into little tiny pieces. That's probably the one that, you know, initially amazed me the most. I think what would surprise people is what steel's in. I mean, we participate in steel that goes into lottery machines in casinos. steel that goes in bridges, high-rise buildings. We have steel in Matthew Knight Arena, PK Park, Auxon Stadium. The trailers that you see behind tractors, we supply the steel for some of the largest trailer manufacturers on the West Coast, to bus transportation, to agricultural equipment. It's just kind of, I think the most surprising thing is what all steel goes into.
Yeah, absolutely. Holy smokes, that's a lot of things.
Yeah.
It looks like Colin typed in the last part of his question, and I love this question. And how do you guys give feedback to your employees about how they're doing? What's your review system like?
So I'll touch on that, and then Donovan, maybe you can expand. So back is we do have KPIs, we have key performance indicators that are predicated on showing the individuals what's important and how they're performing to goals. They can be manufacturing focused, like machine uptime or count of parts generated, or on-time delivery or quality, or they could be commercially focused on net tons sold. So at a high level, we show each department where our established goals are, how we're performing against those goals. It's measured, a deliverable that's reviewed and posted. We also review higher level key performance indicators with the executive team monthly, with safety being the priority, and then maintenance, and then operations and sales. And then we do have quarterly incentive reviews and annual reviews with administrative and sales individuals. And we have for the first 2 years of employment, we have a rapid compensation increase program. So we review employees every 6 months and step their pay up every 6 months for the first 2 years. So we do a step review every 6 months, and then after they've accomplished the 2 years worth of progression, it goes to an annualized basis. Donovan, anything you want to expand on that?
Yeah, and to specific, give and receive feedback, I think it's a challenging question to answer because it's really supervisor and individual specific. Not every individual receives constructive feedback the same way. So you need to understand your employee and how best to communicate with them. I'm big on constructive feedback. Some people call it constructive criticism. With the way that you do it, you can't fix it if you don't know it's broken. You can't change the way you're doing it if you don't know the way you're doing it is not the desired way. Dave touched on the most important thing, and that's safety. Safety is always going to be our number one priority. So when it comes to getting any particular job done, the number one part about getting that job done is getting it safely. And then the second thing is going to be getting it done correctly. And then once we're safe and we're getting it done correctly, now we can start working on the efficiency end of things and then getting it done as efficiently as possible. When it's all said and done, it is a business that needs to operate, and we need to operate with, and again, I'll stop saying safety so much, but because that's a given.
Good.
But beyond that, we've got to operate with a high quality rating and a high efficiency rating so we can stay competitive and relevant in the marketplace, because there is competition. We're not the only company that does this. There's a lot of competition. That's very important. So drilling all the way back to how do you like to give and receive feedback, very much case by case. It's very tuned in to the individuals. This is the way it needs to be done. You're not doing it this way, or I'd like you to do this a little bit faster. Hey, you've hit the quality end of things. That's great. Now we need to improve upon the efficiency or the speed end of things. So tough question to really put a finger on, but a great question.
Great question.
Two things.
Yeah, Dave.
I was gonna say two things to add real quick too, just to kind of piggyback on Donovan there. Donovan's right. Not everyone is comfortable offering suggestions or feedback direct to leadership. So we do have a suggestion box in the break room. Anyone can just anonymously drop a suggestion to the company. It's reviewed and answered, and the answer goes out to everyone that works here. So there's full transparency on what was asked and what the response was. And then also for improvement ideas or improvement suggestions, we try to incorporate the guys and girls that are actually doing the work in the improvement process. So it's their suggestion, their improvement ideas that they roll out and own versus managers telling them how it should be done. So
Great. Awesome. So Donovan, I want to touch on something that you said, and that was staying ahead of the competition, because you aren't the only company of your kind. And Ricardo asks, how do you all advertise?
So that's great. So you probably haven't seen any commercials, on TV recently for Farwest Steel, and you probably won't in the near future, anyways. So the vast majority of our advertisement is through a pretty extensive network of outside sales representatives. Obviously, we have branches across the Western United States here. Specific for Eugene, we have 3 specific territories that we call them territories, but we have 3 outside sales reps, and their job from roughly 8 to 5 Monday through Friday is to be out in those territories and calling on our customers, existing and non-existing customers, following up, seeing how they're doing, introducing ourselves to customers that we have not done business with, and really selling the company through that model. We also do some email specific campaigns to a number of different customers. But primarily it's really networked through our outside sales team.
Definitely, and relationship building.
It is a relationship business, absolutely.
yeah, and just to expand on the marketing aspect too, we do push a lot of swag, hats with our branding, shirts with our branding out. We do develop and pass out print media, flyers that educate customers on the capacities, capabilities of what we do. We do have a fleet, as I mentioned earlier, of trucks. So our branding is on our trucks making deliveries on the West Coast, from Fresno essentially into Alaska, and as far east as Utah. So that does all help with marketing. And Donovan's right, our commercial approach is to saturate our markets with sales support.
Great. Yeah. Yep. That seems like a great strategy. When you talk about your customers, both existing and new potential customers, do you often have like larger companies or smaller groups or individuals?
So obviously, if technically if somebody's buying steel, we want to sell it to them, in short order. I will say that we're primarily a business to business type of company. So the vast majority of our business partners are other businesses, such as JCI or Johnson Crushers that you had indicated. And a number outside of that. We do some individual sales, but really those are a little bit on the fringe end of things. But I would say that you'd probably say 99% of our business is business to business. And then as far as size goes, that's a little bit difficult. Do we have some relatively small business customers? Absolutely, but they're buying steel and we want to support them. We also have some that, are multi-billion-dollar corporations that have facilities all across the United States, and we support some West Coast ones.
Yeah, I'm racking my brain trying to think of what an individual would need steel for. Like, I can't think.
So you've got the backyard project kind of thing. They're fixing a trailer, or maybe they want to build their own trailer, or who knows what. But it's usually a little bit on the maintenance or hobbyist end of things when it comes to the individual aspect. Maybe they're doing a special edition on their house and it needs some steel requirements.
Okay.
You would be surprised, Lizzie, on some of the local artists
Oh, good point.
work on specialty projects around the community that reach out for steel. Donovan's right. Most of the walk-in transitional business, the walk-in customers, we're happy to support, and we always do. But it's usually, I got a side-by-side I want to build a new roll cage for, or those kind of things. One thing to mention too is Farwest does have an e-portal online buying platform that's been developed and rolled out. Currently, we're only allowing existing customers to operate within the e-portal. But the future state model of the e-portal would be to open it up to the open market to transact against in the future.
Wow. Okay, that's great. And that makes sense too, with those projects that individuals could be working on. I think I was picturing like the giant beams that we saw in the video, and I was just trying to picture someone in their backyard. It wasn't working. Okay, let's talk new hires and entry level. A lot of the folks tuning in and who will be tuning into the recorded version of this are young people looking to break into the workforce. So I'd like to go back to Ricardo's question and ask, what's a typical entry level position starting wage at Farwest?
Well, the starting wage varies. Typically, entry level, most of the entry level positions, it's depending on the specific position.
Sure.
And the positions vary from weld fabrication support, like lining out and kitting parts for the fabrication team and doing some cleanup, to removing dross and packaging parts to be shipped and invoiced, which transition into other available positions. The wage usually varies, but I'd say starting typically in the $15.50 range, and then it goes into $17, $18 an hour range depending on the specific job. But we have safety incentives that lead to additional compensation. We have profitability incentives that lead to additional compensation. Periodically, the company does release additional compensation bonuses based on different aspects and the climate currently in the markets that we support. So the compensation goes beyond just the dollar value per hour.
Absolutely, yeah, and we what that goes without even talking about benefits or 401ks, matching any of that. So and over $15 an hour starting out entry level is a great wage.
It is, and the one thing I want to reinforce too is our program, unlike others, is the first 2 years we want to do rapid increases. So you're being evaluated after 6 months worth of work and then stepped up in wage, and then 6 months later you're stepped up. 6 months later you're stepped up for the first 2 years.
Yeah, and that's not super typical with most companies. Usually you're lucky to get an annual review that includes a raise. So that is, that's awesome. The next question I see in the chat box that relates to this is, what qualities do you look for when hiring new employees at Farwest? And I'll throw that question to either of you.
Well, so some of the qualities that I'm going to look for is we want people that have an open mind. We want people that are open to that constructive feedback. This might come as a shock depending on your age group, but you don't actually know everything. You'll realize that in a few more years. I know I realized it the older I got. So Anyway, so being open to constructive feedback, being open-minded, being positive. A positive attitude is incredibly important. The negativity in the workplace is really tough. So we're constantly encouraging positivity, open-mindedness, and then, you know what, just an honest, good old-fashioned work ethic. You know, the willingness to put in an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. Show up for work on time. Don't get in a habit of you know, calling in sick every time you get a few hours of sick time. Oh, gonna make it a 3-day weekend here. You know, our demand can ebb and flow. We try to minimize the amount of overtime that we need to work, but sometimes we need to work it. And you know, having you know, able volunteers when we do have those things come up, that means a lot too. So nothing earth-shattering as far as the qualities goes, but positive, motivated, open-minded, some dedication, and really the sky's the limit to what you can do if you embrace all of that.
Dave, would you add anything to that list, or did Donovan cover it?
That's pretty comprehensive. He covered quite a few things there. Yeah, like I mentioned before, you know, a positive attitude, a willingness to challenge yourself. You know, obviously somebody that can get behind and support a team effort, work towards our established common goals. Yeah, the work ethic and willingness, those things kind of, you know, prove themselves out in time. But somebody who's positive, dependable, you know, punctual, all those attributes will definitely get you an opportunity.
Great. If I was a young person looking for job openings at Farwest, where would I go?
So we have a website.
Great.
Where there's open jobs that you can research. We also do have job listings on Resume or Jazz. We will post in Craigslist and others at times. So those are the primary avenues that we use. Donovan, we don't.
No, the primary one and the best one is the Farwest Steel website. Yeah. All of our job opportunities are posted there, and not just the Eugene branch. We have branches in Vancouver, Moses Lake, Spokane, Boise, you know, Medford, Stockton, you know, so maybe somebody has aunts and uncles or other relatives in one of these other places, or a desire to live in Eastern Washington anyways. Maybe they grew up there, they finished school here, and they'd love to go back. There's opportunities with other branches, and all of that's visible via our website.
Okay, great. And I do want to plug too, we chatted about this before we went live and started recording, but Farwest has registered for our organization's upcoming hiring fair. So if we have any seniors in high school on the call, or any educators who work with seniors, please know that Farwest is registered, so they will be there. I think April 19th is the first date with job openings available, and eager to talk to students about filling those job positions. So, okay, last question before we wrap up here. I think I'll go with Ricardo's question. Has the company always had the vision to be the preeminent metal solution provider in the Western United States, or did it start as something different? And do you see this vision changing at all as you grow?
You want to arm wrestle for this one, Dave?
No, I'll go ahead and chime in. The answer is Eugene is the birthplace of the company, founded in 1956. They've always strived, the company's always strived to be the preeminent metal solutions provider on the West Coast. Could the vision change through time? Well, geographic expansion is a growth strategy and a goal. We're always looking at opportunity to bring value and support other markets. Being on the West Coast, it's hard to push west. unless we're targeting like Hawaii across the Pacific Ocean. So naturally we'd push east. So I could see maybe that changing to the nation versus the Western, you know. But we're always going to push to grow. We're always going to push to support the steel requirements in all available markets and bring those markets value.
That's great. All right. So thank you, Donovan and Dave, for joining us. Thank you, Melissa, for staying on the line and watching. I'm so sorry that we couldn't get you on here as a panelist, but thank you both for your time. And I'd like to remind the students on the call too, tomorrow's working webinar, Working Wednesday, is on personal finance. So if you have not registered for that, please do. And next week's tour Tuesday is of Threadbare, the local print shop. So thank you both for being here again, and thank you to all the students on the call.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All righty, everybody have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.